Hey everybody, how's it going? Chris here from Wicked Repairs. Today we're going to be replacing my hot water heater because yesterday it broke. Bought a new one today. We're going to swap it out. I'm going to change a couple little things that are on it. So I'm going to show you basically what to do if your hot water heater breaks and how to replace your electric hot water heater. This one is electric, not run by propane. So if you have a propane one, it's going to be slightly different with a propane line instead of just the electrical line as this one is. So I'll run you through it. Thanks for watching. First things first, if you have an issue with your hot water heater, you're going to want to come to the breaker and turn your hot water heater to the off position. You're not going to want to supply water to that. It could be a hazard or fire hazard, as the heating elements will still try to function and work as it's losing all of its water. That can cause a big issue. So make sure the first thing you do is shut off your breaker to the hot water heater. Now you may or may not have multiple valves in your house for shut-off valves, or you may have one just main shut-off valve that comes in the house. So the next step to do would be to shut off the water to the hot water heater. Now I have all PEX tubing in my house. You may have copper pipe, but this is a shut-off valve that I have that goes to the hot water heater. I had an issue when we bought the house of a water leak in here, and it was all old just copper pipes, and there was one single shut off at the water feed to the house. So when that happened, I replaced everything with PEX tubing. Highly recommend it. And I put all individual valves for every water supply in the house. So I shut off the cold water supply to the hot water heater. And the same thing over here where the hot water lines are. I have a hot water heater line here that I've also shut off. And then you're going to want to go upstairs and open up your hot water sink, the bathroom or the kitchen or both, and relieve any pressure. This particular setup already had these valves in, so I shut these off as well. And then I reopened them a little bit after running the sink and stuff, just to relieve any pressure that might be in here and eliminate any water that's in the line. Now my hot water heater, when it failed internally. There's water coming out everywhere, so it's not holding water anymore. If yours was holding water and something else failed, maybe electric portion or something, and you didn't get it repaired, you got it replaced, and you were doing this, you would want to open this valve here to relieve any water out of this drain here, and put it in a suitable container. That way you can get it out of the basement or wherever it is safely, but you would want to open that up. Now right on top is where the electrical line comes in. Again, always make sure you shut off your main circuit breaker before touching any electrical components or wires. And we're going to take the screws off of this to take this panel off, take everything off necessary we need, and take the electrical wires off of the old one. Now if yours are spliced together as these are, what you're going to want to do is just unscrew these caps and separate the wires from one another. And then just take your cable and put it out of the way to do the rest of the work to remove the water lines from the heater, so we can start installing the new ones. So what I'm going to do here, instead of having the original copper piping that's in here with these valves, since I already have individual shut-off valves, what I'm going to do is eliminate these valves here that are at the water heater, because I don't necessarily need them with the other shut-off valves that I have for the cold and hot water supply. So I'm just going to take these clamps off here and remove these two water lines, the cold and the hot that comes into it, and then we're going to loosen these up. And I'm just going to take these off completely, and then I'm going to put a fitting on here that goes to PEX tubing connected to the existing lines. So normally, if you weren't doing it that way, the way that these are, you can't break this loose without breaking the solder loose. So you would have to actually heat up these joints to break the solder loose and get these pipes apart, and then be able to twist the nut off. So obviously if you try twisting it with the line together, it's only going to go so far if you can get it to move, and you're going to run into some issues. So I just cut the old bands from the PEX tubing clamps, and I cut them with just a pair of side cutters, and then pulled these off. Now you're going to want to, if you're in this situation where you're reusing this end, you're probably going to want to cut off this end, at least a couple inches or so, just so you're not using this old end again that's been spread open. You don't want to have any leaks. Get the job done once, get it done right the first time. And I was holding a minute ago, but I just tucked the PEX tubing off to the side a little, but I'll get it up there after. And then we're going to take a wrench and take these fittings off. Should have just enough room to clear this beam here. So we've got both of the fittings off. Now, if you're not reusing them, you don't have to take them off. I took it off just because I'm going to take those copper and throw it in the scrap pile. This piece right here, we're going to want to save and reuse this. So what I'm going to do here is heat this portion up, and as I'm heating this up with the MAP gas torch, I'm going to move this pipe back and forth as it softens up and pop that off. Be careful, obviously it will be very hot, and then we'll spin this fitting and get the rest of it right off. I wanted that fitting to come off, not this one, but that's okay. We can fix that, no problem. And then we're just going to spin this one off here and get the rest of that pipe off. So now we're going to start to prepare to get the new one installed. So I need to move the old one out of the way, but I took the PEX tubing for the hot water and cold water and just took a hacksaw. And I cut these, so I just got to clean these up a little bit, kind of deburr the ends a little and clean them out and make sure they make a good seal. And then we'll show you what we're going to do with that as well. Alright, so we got the new hot water heater in place, right where we want it to be. And we've got some fresh pipe thread tape, so we're just going to screw that on. We'll take the wrench and we'll tighten it down properly. And then we'll get the other fitting here back in place, and we'll get this into place here too, and resolder that connection, clean everything up, and resolder it before we make this final. And then we'll get our fittings on the end here. We're going to pipe thread tape those as well, and we'll have it's going to be a male 3/4 inch fitting that goes over here with the PEX tube fitting, so that we could get PEX tube right from here. Okay, so we got that resoldered back on and into place nice and snug. So we're going to get these fittings on next. So here's our next step. We put pipe tape on each fitting, and then this is what we're going to, 3/4 inch threaded to the PEX tube fitting. So we're going to spin one of these on each one, and we're going to tighten them up. Now, definitely put pipe thread tape on it, and definitely tighten this down and make sure it's tight, because you don't want any leaks here. Where this was done, not too bad at the elbow. You really don't want any leaks there either, but this isn't a pressure line or anything like that that's used unless you're draining it with the relief here. So I'm going to tighten that up and put the other one on here for the cold water and tighten that up as well. So this is ultimately what I'm going to be doing for the water line. So I put in a 90-degree barbed fitting that I had, and we have put the clamp on first, then put the fitting on, and we're going to clamp this part here to tighten that down with a special tool. Then we're going to put the cold water line from here over to the cold water inlet to the hot water heater, and we're going to do the same thing with the hot water line and down to the hot water inlet. Now I have my other piece here that I'm going to connect from here to the fitting. First I'm going to clamp this one. You want to have this clamp as close to the end of the barb as you can while leaving a little gap. And then you put this tool in here and squeeze it, and it's a ratcheting tool, so it's not going to even come off until you fully closed it, and then it will ratchet open. Now, see what I mean? So if you go, it stops, so it's not going to release until you're all the way. Doesn't hurt to give it a little extra squeeze, and just by feel, just make sure it feels snug and tight. You don't want it to come off, of course. So then we're going to get another fitting onto our next line. I'm going to pop that into place. I'm going to do the same thing here with this clamp. Again, you want it nice and close here. This angle is a little funny for me, but tighten down on that clamp. Again, check it. Just make sure you can't twist it or pull it off of there. And we're going to have one final clamp for the fitting that goes into the heater. Well, that's a little longer than I really want it, because I don't need this to peak up so high, so I'm going to cut it just a little bit here. Alright, I got this about where I want it now. Make sure it's all the way down on the fitting. Make sure it's as flush as possible. You don't want any angles or anything like that. You want it kind of all flush. And then use the crimping tool. So that's nice and tight on there. Everything looks good to me. It's nice and flush down there. It's nice and strong. It's not going anywhere. So now we're going to do the same exact thing to the hot water section. And we got a new fitting. As I said, same thing. We're going to stick it on here. I'm going to put the clamp on. That's about what you want, just a little bit showing, maybe, you know, less than 1/4 of an inch, and then clamp it. And then we'll get the hot water one on. So once your water lines are all in, the next thing we have to do is to get the electrical hooked up. Again, always make sure your circuit breaker is off. Okay, so you got this plate. This is a new plate that comes with the hot water heater. You're going to put it over your electrical wires. Get that plate on. Then you're going to get the nut on. That's going to hold everything from moving in place here. There we go. Now you can grab it with pliers and snug it down, but usually by hand once it goes, that's pretty good where it stays. So and then we're going to take wire connectors, connect the black to the black, white to the red, the wire nuts. Make sure they're on there good and they're not going to fall apart. Definitely don't want them falling apart and creating an issue. Touching powers to grounds. Get the wire nut onto the ground. Twist the wires together a little bit. and then get the wire nuts on. I always like to make sure it's on there good. If it happens to break or anything like that, I just put another one on there, that's all. That seems very good. And then tuck your wires securely into a little compartment that's in there. I'm going to get this plate down. There's 2 screws that hold on this one, and then there's 1 screw that holds on this one, on this particular model anyhow. And it's just 3 Phillips head screws that hold these in place, nice and easy. And the final screw. Now the electrical portion is done. It's nice and easy, but remember, always safety first. Shut off your power supply as soon as you have an issue. This bottom was just a little crooked. I'm just gonna straighten it out. And then you might want to check just to make sure that the screws holding this cable end on here are good. I know I loosened this one up a little bit, so make sure that's nice and and snug and tight. So that's it. We've got everything here. We've got our electrical hooked up. We've got the drain relief valve up top. We got our hot water line hooked up. Our cold water line hooked up. And now the most important thing here is to make sure that you fill this up. So we have to turn on the valves to the cold and hot water and fill this up before turning on the electricity. You want to make sure that this is full. So turn on your water supply, go up to your sink, turn on the hot water, make sure the water is flowing, make sure this is full, and you don't have any issues with your heating element frying. Because if you turn this on before putting water to it, it will fry your heating element, or at least do a lot of damage to it. And there's no warranty for that. There's nothing good that can come of that. So you don't want a heating element dry. So we're going to turn everything on, and it should be a-okay. I don't know how well you can hear it, but it is filling at the moment. We do not have any leaks that I see anywhere, which is great so far. We'll keep an eye on it to make sure nothing else is leaking, and just give plenty of time to fill this up. And then, like I said, once it's filled up, go turn your valves on in the bathroom sink and the kitchen sink, and make sure that the water is coming out, specifically the hot water side, and then you're good to go and turn on the electricity and have hot water again. And one thing I did was purge this and open up the valve to let some air out and make sure that that's working properly. And then also wanted to show you one other thing. So if you remove the cover that's on the side here, and you remove these foam pads, or all you really have to remove is the lower one, and you can get to where it is adjust the temperature. Right now it's set to 120 degrees. It's probably right where you want to be, and that's probably where your unit is going to be the most efficient, is where they set it up from factory. And it has a little warning, little tab there where it's red on the 125, basically saying, don't go over that, so you don't burn yourself, harm yourself, and it's going to change your water bill. Your heating element's going to be on higher, so it's going to cost more, of course. So efficiency wise, I'm sure it's set to where it should be. Definitely sounds like I don't hear water entering the unit anymore, so it's definitely full. I'm gonna go turn on the sinks. Also, before messing with this at all, make sure your power supply is off. It's off right now because of what I just did, but if you ever tamper with that, make sure you shut off the power. That way nothing bad happens. I did open the drain just a tiny bit, just to make sure that it's full, and it's full. Alright, we're all full of water. Everything, ran every element upstairs. Last thing to do, turn the power back on in the water heater and let it warm up. That's it. Now this is the first time I've ever installed one of these, and it was really easy even when making a video for you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope this video makes it easy for you and helps you out in some way. Even if it's a little way, I hope it helps you out. If I didn't do something completely right or to the way that a professional would do it, I apologize, but leave a comment below and let me know. Maybe you think, hey, you should have done this or you could have done that. But ultimately, it's working 100%. It's exactly what I wanted. I got rid of the copper piping that was there. It's all PEX tubing now. Still have the shut-off valves, and we have a full water tank, and just waiting for it to heat up now and be able to take a nice hot shower. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.